Hello, my dear friends. Today I'm going to just talk about integration with SCCM and the CMDB that's currently available from BMC software. There's probably other integrations out there, but I'm going to talk specifically about the one that's available from BMC. I'm going to talk about the SCCM job overview and then the transformation overview and then the fixes that I've done. Now, one thing I want to say is that there are a lot of flaws with the was it 12 years old now integration. It was created by a contractor BMC hired for 3 months, and he just created this kind of a I guess reasonable piece of software, but he or she, not really sure who it was specifically, had left some gaps in there. So I want to address those and how to overcome these problems that you're probably already seeing in your environment if you're using this. So the first thing is the job itself. Okay, so you see here, it starts with computer system and it just works through all the CMDB classes by pulling data out of the database. First, it pulls computer system, then it goes on to CD-ROM drive, disk drive, IP endpoints, memory, logical disk, file system, LAN endpoint, monitor, network port, operating system, patch, product, virtual system enabler, and tape drive, and then finally processor. And you can see here that all these links are associated, or they have a lock on them, meaning that even if this is fails, if this step fails, so here we'll still continue to the next one. And it will just keep processing all the way to the end. Now, this particular job was missing the success step over here, so I added it because it's basically, you don't know whether it was success or not until it reaches that last step. So I just added this step here in the end, but this is not the integration that I'm currently using. The one that I actually use is this one here. I got rid of all the other classes because all we really needed is the computer system, IP endpoint, the monitors, operating systems, and the I added additional step here to check for duplication because BMC basically they're ignoring duplication correction or identification. So you may actually see it in the console that there are duplicates and so on, but they will not offer any solutions for it, although the problems are caused by the software. There's an engine that creates, and I had created a separate video on this where I show the SQL queries that you can run to detect the duplication. So that's what this last step is here. This job runs on a schedule every day, so it just pulls data out of SCCM and then puts them into the CMDB. Now, this particular piece, there really isn't much you can fix. It's just every transformation in a row and finishes. So no problem there. I wasn't really disappointed with this piece. What I was disappointed with is the individual transformations themselves. So instead of going through every single one, I'm just going to go into the IP endpoint one over here because all the other transformations have the same flaw. Okay. So here in this particular transformation here, I'm going to make it at a 75 point view so you get to see the entire transformation. This particular transformation begins with pulling data out of AR input. Okay, so let's say that if you have modified or made a backup of this particular job and imported it somewhere else, the qualification here is going to already break down. You can see that it's pulling its own trans name. So if the transformation name was, for example, I don't know what is this IP endpoint SCCM integration for IP endpoint, it will find itself because this is a variable that is tied to the specific transformation itself. But what it's missing is the actual author of this. So if you just run it like this, it will use the one that it was originally installed with and not the one that you restore from backup. So that's something you should be aware of right off the bat. Now I'm going to show this real quick here. If you notice the first step, which is the AR input step, it's looking for data in NGI delta form. Okay, and the qualification for that data is trans name, transformation name. So if I then go look for that particular transformation, which is this right here, you will see that it's looking for the delta in remedy application service. But if I had exported and backed it up and then recreated it personally, right, then it's looking for the wrong one. So here in this case, you need to make sure that the transformation that you're actually running is using the correct delta. So that delta will look for my name here, and it's showing this particular date right here. So today, December 12th, that's my delta. But it's actually not true, because I've created a local copy of this, meaning that since I'm using a remote connection to the BMC SaaS service through the casing gateway, I have to create two copies of it so that my database connection is local and then remote, right? So I have two particular jobs, one that I need to run locally and one that I need to run remotely. So this AR delta, which is a date type, by the way, is not going to get picked up from the proper one. As you can see, the deltas here are not the same. So this is today, 12/12, and this is a couple weeks ago, okay? So you need to fix this by adding the submitter name, and I'll show this in the one that I actually fixed. So here in this case, I'm not going to do it. The next thing that's kind of broken there is the AR delta itself was set by the developer to be in an integer. Okay, so that integer out of the box, that's a flawed data type because it will not be recognized. So I don't know why this guy didn't just fix it, but basically what he did here, let's go back to this. I'm going to close this job here. I don't need that one, but the one that's the original design here, you can see that the AR input, it's using the integer data type. So when that integer is passed to the next step over here, which is the read delta variable, this script itself, you can see that's a variable assigned to OP variable, and then tname out. This here gets the variable where the internal name, transformation name, okay, and then the delta itself, and then there's some sort of weird step here, which is delta. Is it true, or uppercase or lowercase? Yes. And then if not, then just go ahead, go to this else step, which it will take you back to 1/1/1975. So 1/1/1975, I think, is when probably Remedy was born, or something was created, Linux or something. And it will use this as a delta. So that means every time you run this particular transformation, you're looking at a delta that's on January 1st of 1975. So you can imagine that every time you run this transformation, all the data from then till now will be considered to be processed. So I kill this thing as well, and I'll explain how to fix that. Okay, so going back to the actual fixed value, I just, I didn't really want to mess with the script here, so I just commented all this stuff, because by default it will always, no matter what, go into this else statement, because this if will never be true. There's no such thing as is delta yes or y. Okay, so here op, which is this over here, this variable, ends up being AR delta, and then AR delta is being read from this field right here. So now I have a correct AR delta being read in. Now also remember, I was talking about the data type. So what happens here, even if it was read in as 1/1/1975, when it got to the next step over here, select values, the up value was showing here in 1975, and it was basically doing that bad delta. So by the changes that you would need to do is, first, in an AR input, you need to make sure that your qualification is correct. So if this internal transformation name, which in this case is the local, right? So if I here look at this local one, it will find the proper one, and this one was also created by me. So your submitter is this right here. And the next fix is to change the field type to date. So when you have a date, now you're actually ready to process your delta. So this step here, I could have just deleted it, but I don't know. I just preserved it for this particular video so you can see what the differences are. Once you then send this through to select values, you're actually sending in the true op value, which is going to be your delta, meaning that's the last time the previous job ran. Okay, now eventually it gets to this step over here where it basically goes into the GS network adapter configure, which is the view in SCCM, and it's using the timestamp of your last delta versus 1975. Right? So now you have fixed this piece, and it will already run much faster because now you're processing only the delta, which would be something like last week. Right? The second flaw here in this job is that the some of these rows over here in IP endpoint, they're too long. The IP address, this is written when there may have been like one IP address provided by a virtual machine, but now there's like 3 or 4 of these, and they may be, 64 characters long. So in order to preserve everything to keep working, because actually not everybody cares about the field, you have to add this trim string over here to address 0, and then trim both sides and keep it to a specific side. Okay, so the specific sides of that field is when I do a limit of 60, which is also what the CMDB has it set to. And that field called address, which again, here you can see in this transformation that whoever created it, just said we're going to have an address part of the lookup tables, but then they added it here into a list of fields to be updated. So you can imagine if you have a primary key that's looking for a specific update and then just it can update itself, which means you will be creating duplicates of IP endpoints in the CMDB. I mean, that's just the flaw of this particular design here. So anyway, the source field for address, which can exceed 60 characters, but is actually designed to only have 39 characters. You can see here maximum length is 39. So you're going to be seeing error messages, that this field exceeds maximum length. And that's true. That is exactly what's happening. So, by the way, the attribute definitions is a form called objstr attributes. And there's 2 fields with the same name, but they have different ID. Okay, you can see here, this one is with the last 4 digits 1900. So you have to click on this debug button here to see which class that's associated with. Display debug here, and then on the bottom it shows you that this is the physical location versus this one. If you click on the display debug, this is a protocol endpoint, and IP endpoint is a child class of protocol endpoint, so therefore it inherits the particular field size from here. So the 39 characters is the maximum size that you could put in, I don't know, 20 years ago, but now that field is getting populated with more data. So in here, when you're doing this mapping, right, for trimming the string, if you don't add this addition to trim it down to 39 characters, you're going to be facing a problem with the data size. Okay, so actually we did have it fixed to 60. It looks like somebody has changed it back to 39, or they may have done a database restore. That's another thing with BMC. They just do stuff without telling you. So they think they need to restore a database, and they will restore it, and here you go. You got your data corrupted. So that's another thing you need to deal with. Well, the second thing here is you'll see that there's a difference in the way I'm creating this relationship. Here, when you're going into the CMDB input, it actually creates the CI if it's missing. And then the next step is to then go do a CMDB lookup for the other side of it, and then creates a hosted access point. Now, this particular step is what I had to change because the original looks like this. It uses triple steps, so meaning do this 3 times, so do 3 lookups, and those 3 lookups then lead to 3 relationships. So you'll see 3 relationships for each CMDB lookup, and that's basically a defect because now you're getting duplicates again. I mean, like I said, duplicates are kind of the daily thing of BMC is integrations. So I got rid of the duplicates. So now you just have one and one, and here it updates. Eventually, it goes into the NGI delta, and again, it looks for the duplicates. So here, if you have this integration created in your with your own name as the submitter, you'll have to add and submitter equals such and such. So here you can see that the AR delta is being updated by a value called DMT, which is I think somewhere in here. Oh, sorry, LMT. Okay, so those are the things you will need to do for this integration. You will need to do this for every single transformation, meaning computer system, IP endpoint, operating system, whatever is using this delta set will need to be updated to do that change. You'll need to pay attention to the field size and to the duplication of the record itself. I hope this helps you. Have a nice day. Take care.